On the last episode, you'll remember that I started preparing some of my brass and projectiles for my Tikka. This is a 223. It's in an A1 tactical. It's pretty much a factory gun, apart from the bipod, the Nightfall scope. Everything else is as you would unbox this gun. And this particular rifle is known to be accurate up to 1,000 yards, which is pretty good for a 223. Now, I've always shot up to 62 grain, and I've decided that I want to go up to 77 grain in this rifle. And I'm in uncharted waters because I have to start from scratch when it comes to powder and trying to develop around for it. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to do it together. The one thing about this rifle is we're going to learn about the lands. And the lands is where the front part of your projectile touches inside the rifling. That's known as the lands. So what we're going to do now is we're going to measure what the length of our overall bullet is when we go to the lands. Now, to do that, we need some tools. What we're going to need is a OAL gauge, which is an overall length gauge. So basically it has a thread on the end, and you can buy whatever caliber case you want that's threaded also. You screw that on the end there until it comes home. It's nice and firm. And then what we do is we insert the projectile that we intend on using, and we'll sort of find a nice happy medium there. Just protruding out is fine. Whoops, it's come out too far. And then what will happen is we'll insert this in the rear through the back into the rifling. Now, once we get inside, we're going to undo that screw there, and we're going to push this shaft forward until the projectile here moves into the rifling. And once it hits it, when it hits the lands, it's going to stop. And then we're going to lock up this screw again over here. We're going to bring it out, and with a vernier or a comparator, we can use a comparator for this, we're going to measure our overall length. And then from there, we're going to minus 20 thou, because we want that 20 thou clearance off the lands. We don't want to be in jam mode. We want to be out of jam, but in the lands. And then from there, we're going to have a look at how far the projectile is actually protruding in. And from there, I'm going to start working out where I want to be with my powder. Now, the one thing that you need to know is that the projectile will be jammed in there, but it comes straight out just by tapping the gun, so it's not an issue. So we're going to sit that inside. So that's sitting nicely there. Then we're going to loosen the outer screw. And now that's touching the rifling inside. We'll lock that up and we'll gently pull it out. Now the projectile won't come out with it. That'll be stuck inside. And I'll just tap the gun on its butt and on the stock here, and that will come out. So I've now removed this back out of the rifle, and we got the projectile out. Now this isn't going to change the distance, so you can just insert that until it touches, and that is our overall maximum length when we go to the lands. So let's take a couple of measurements. So now we're ready to take a couple of measurements. The first measurement I'm going to take is an overall measurement, and then I'm going to take a comparator measurement. Because we've already got a dummy round here, we can create automatically what our comparator is, and we don't have to wait till we go to the press because we've already got it in front of us. So make sure it's zeroed. A bit awkward doing it like this, but I'll do my best for the camera. I'll just do it my way and then I'll show you the measurement. So we've got 50, 5846. It's moved a little bit from there, but it's 5846. So we're going to write down 58046, sorry. 46, and that's OL, overall length. And now we're going to get a comparator reading. We'll make sure we're zeroed. Now you'll notice that I've changed my comparator from the 308 to the 223. What I need to do is remove that anvil off that because that won't work. It's always best to take a minute to verify that you're zeroed, because you don't want to make stupid mistakes like that. Pop that in there, in the right. Okay, so we have a comparator length now of 4878. 4878, and we'll get that CL. So that's what we have so far. Okay, now we're going to bring out our trusty little sheet without breaking anything. So we've got our 223. Now, so nobody gets confused, all 223s run a 224 projectile. Okay, so this is interesting. On your data card, it tells us that the maximum overall length is, now this is standard, is 5740, which is over here, that measurement there, 5740. And we have 5846. So over a millimetre longer. But we haven't taken away the 20 thou. So I've done a few calculations here. Now 20 thou is 0.508. So we're going to take 0.508 off the 58.46, and it brings us down to 57.95, which is still half a millimetre longer than your factory max. Now with that, what that tells us that we have to be very careful with our powder, that we can't go too low when we're doing our testing, because not having enough powder can be just as dangerous or more dangerous than having too much powder. So we really got to start in that middle range and start heading up. So now we need to look it up and find out what is the middle range. So just going to open up the Bible. So we're getting closer. 221, 222, 222, and 223 Remington. Okay. So let's scroll down now until we come across the grain of projectile we want to run. (62, 69, 77 HPBT). So there we are here, right? Now we are only looking at the bottom line because that's the gunpowder I'm using, the AR2206H, because it's a faster burning powder than 2208. And if we go across over here, it shows us a minimum and a maximum. Now, the minimum's telling us 20 grain of powder, and the maximum is 22.6 compressed.